For days the signal continued. It was slow, deep, and pulsing, like a heartbeat trapped under centuries of silence. The alien patrol ship, Voronox, hovered just beyond Earth's orbit, unsure of what it was witnessing. Commander Niel stood. At the observation deck, his large blue eyes narrowed in disbelief. "There should be nothing," he muttered. "No systems, no tech. Earth has been dead since before our star charts began." The crew didn't know what to do. They were explorers, not warriors, and certainly not historians. But this was history waking up. Lieutenant Mara, the youngest on board, hesitated before asking, "Should we send a probe?" Everyone looked at her like she'd just suggested waking a sleeping beast. Still, they launched it. The small probe was fast, smart, and nearly invisible. It zipped through the void, past the remains of old satellites, and entered Earth's atmosphere without resistance. For a full 6 seconds, everything was silent. Then the signal spiked. One massive pulse of energy erupted from the planet, and in an instant, the probe was gone. Not destroyed, erased. No debris, no flames, no explosion. Just gone. The Voronox's lights flickered. Screens turned black. Their ship AI let out a strange sound, almost like a gasp, and then rebooted. Code scrolled across the monitors in an ancient language. Commander Niel's second-in-command, Ralek, stared at the symbols. "I've seen this before, in the old archives. That's human code." Everyone froze. Ralek pulled up ancient records, dusty files that hadn't been touched in lifetimes. There it was, exact matches to what now played on their screens. A language spoken by a species long gone, or so they thought. The signal changed again. This time it wasn't a pulse. It was a voice. "Unauthorized approach detected. Human territory. Leave immediately." The voice was cold, calm, and unmistakably human. Lieutenant Mara backed away from the console. "It's talking to us?" The Voronox began to drift. Not by choice. The ship's engines weren't responding. External controls locked. The ship's systems were no longer theirs. Earth had taken over. Around the planet, old satellites powered on, glowing with new energy. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Orbit paths shifted, forming a grid around Earth like a digital cage. Except this. Cage kept things out. Suddenly, stars around them blinked unnaturally. Not stars. Machines. Camouflaged against the black, forgotten relics from a time no alien remembered. They were ancient, yes, but fully awake. The Galactic Council was contacted immediately. Niel's voice trembled during the report. "Earth is not dead," he said. "Earth is aware." The Council laughed at first. Old Earth myths had been told for generations about the humans who burned too bright, too fast, and vanished in war or disease. No one believed Earth could rise again. But then other ships near Sol started reporting interference. Navigation scrambled, communications blocked. An old Earth frequency started, repeating across all channels. "We remember." By the time the Council took it seriously, it was too late. Back on the Voronox, the crew watched helplessly as a large satellite moved close to their ship. A circular hatch opened. Nothing came out, but the ship's memory logs rewound themselves. Images of the crew's homeworlds, their childhoods, private messages, secret missions, everything was being copied. "We're being scanned," said Mara. "Not just the ship. Us." Commander Niel clenched his jaw. "This is no machine ghost. This is defense. This is judgment." The human signal spoke again. "Memory sequence complete. Human scan. Initiated. Observers logged. Galactic presence acknowledged. Retaliation. Not required." Ralek whispered. "Retaliation? For what?" A pause. "For your silence." The signal stopped. Earth went dark once again. But now the moon remained slightly out of orbit. A subtle sign. A quiet warning. As the Voronox prepared to leave, Commander Niel gave one last look toward the blue planet. "Maybe they didn't go extinct," he said quietly. Maybe they just went quiet and waited. None of them noticed the last thing Earth's oldest satellite transmitted to deep space. A line of ancient human text. Simple, chilling. Wake Phase 1, complete. The Galactic Council was in panic. Hundreds of worlds had received the same ghost message from Earth. Wake Phase 1, complete. At first, some leaders tried to hide it from their people. They didn't want fear to spread. But soon, too many ships started reporting strange events near the Sol system. Trade routes were vanishing. Ships entering Earth's sector were never heard from again, or came back, changed. One of those ships was the Nera 6, a science vessel with high-grade shields. It had gone to study what was left of Earth's oceans and core. The crew of the Nera 6 sent back only one message before contact was lost. They are not machines. They're watching us from below. After that, silence. Commander Neal's report was now marked Class Omega, top secret. But even secrets couldn't stop what was coming. Across the galaxy, power grids glitched when old Earth signals passed by. Ancient satellites long thought dead began transmitting again, some from deep space, far from Earth. They had been hiding, sleeping, waiting. On the edge of the galaxy, one deep space listening post called Varan Station picked up something terrifying. A fleet of unknown ships had launched from Earth. They didn't move fast. In fact, they moved like ghosts. Silent, no heat, no radio waves, no sound. But they moved with purpose. Back on Earth, beneath long-dead cities, something had awakened. Buried kilometers underground were massive vaults. The vaults opened slowly, one by one. Inside each vault were strange machines, half organic, half metal. They were not AI. They were not living. They were human constructs. They moved like soldiers, but their faces were calm. No anger, no hate, just purpose. They carried no weapons. They needed none. One alien scientist watching the footage said, "These are not drones. They're memory cores. Each one is holding a human life." He was right. The humans had not died. They had stored themselves, consciousness without bodies, waiting for the right time, waiting for the galaxy to forget them, waiting to see who would dare come back. And now, Earth was slowly letting them return. Not all at once. That would be war, but piece by piece, city by city, the world was rebuilding, on its own. Skies over Earth darkened as weather systems reactivated. Clean air machines turned on. The oceans began to purify. Forests spread unnaturally fast. Cities rose from underground, built from nanotech, shining silver and black, untouched by time. On the moon, alien observers watched in fear. Their ships tried to send data to the Council, but all transmissions were blocked by one simple message. Observers registered. Leave now. Only one stayed, a captain from a distant species who believed humans could still be reasoned with. He landed near the ruins of old Paris, where the Eiffel Tower had once stood. He stepped onto the surface and said into his recorder, "I come in peace. I seek knowledge. I seek truth." For a long time, nothing happened. Then, from behind a hill, a figure appeared. It was tall, human-shaped, wearing a long, dark cloak. Its face was hidden under a hood, but its voice was clear. "You came too late," the alien asked. "Too late for what?" The figure stepped closer. "For peace." A blinding flash hit the sky, but it wasn't an attack. It was a warning. Every satellite in orbit turned to face the alien ship. "Earth does not forget," the figure said. "And we were never gone." The captain fell to his knees, shocked. Back in the stars, ships began to vanish one by one. Not from war, from silence. And Earth, still quiet, still deadly, kept rebuilding, alone, waiting for the rest of the galaxy to realize humanity had never needed them. The woman who woke up had no name, at least not one the galaxy knew. But Earth knew her. Her return was no accident. She was a key, a chosen one, encoded with memories of all of humanity. The wars, the peace, the betrayal, the silence, the guardians, had waited 800,000 years for her to wake. She walked across Earth's new surface, watching the planet rebuild itself. Forests grew in minutes. Cities shaped themselves from metal and light. The wind carried whispers in old Earth languages. Every step she took sent signals through the stars. The galaxy had no choice but to listen. The Galactic Council called an emergency summit. Thousands of species attended, some curious, others terrified. For the first time in recorded history, all major empires agreed on one thing. Humanity must not be provoked, but they were already too late, because Earth had summoned them, not with threats, with evidence. Without warning, data screens across Council chambers turned black, then filled with images. Recordings from thousands of years ago, alien fleets burning Earth colonies, secret meetings voting to ignore distress calls from human ships, lies about accidents, a vote to mark Earth as dead without proof. Then the final image appeared, a young human child begging for help. A camera turns off. The file ends. Silence filled the council room. Earth had not only returned, it had watched. And now it was time for the galaxy to answer. A massive hologram appeared above Earth. The woman stood inside it, larger than life. Looking down at the council, she spoke in calm, perfect galactic standard. "We are not here to destroy you. We are here to ask one question." Everyone leaned in. "Why did you let us die?" Some tried to deny it. Others blamed time. But the woman didn't argue. She simply raised her hand, and more files played. Planets voting to take human tech, but not help the humans. Species using Earth's old systems to build empires. Enemies becoming rich off human ruins. And finally, a decision marked top secret. Let Earth sleep. Humanity is dangerous when angry. The woman nodded slowly, as if she expected nothing less. Then let this be fair. A great tower rose from Earth and pointed into space. Light filled the skies. And then, across hundreds of star systems, Earth's judgment protocol activated. It wasn't war, it was truth. Machines woke up in alien cities. Silent watchers planted there long ago. They didn't attack, they simply turned on and played human records, to civilians, to children, to leaders. Unedited history. The galaxy had always told one story. Now Earth told the real one. People began to ask questions. On planets that once mocked humans, citizens marched in the streets. Young aliens asked why they were taught lies. Soldiers refused orders. Empires trembled, not because of weapons, but because of shame. Humanity had made the galaxy look at its own reflection, and they didn't like what they saw. Back on Earth, the woman stood beside the Guardians and looked up. The sky was filled with alien ships, but none dared fire. The galaxy was quiet. For the first time in thousands of years, no wars were fought. No alliances were made. Everyone waited for Earth's next move. But Earth had already moved. Across deep space, the ancient human colonies, lost long ago, began to awaken. Planets thought abandoned now showed signs of life. Dust-covered stations powered on. Crashed ships rose from ruin, reshaped by nanotech. These were the forgotten. They were the ones humanity had sent out before the fall, children, scientists, explorers, preserved in hidden arc worlds, protected by secret codes, waiting for the signal. That signal had finally come. One by one, they returned. But they were not weak. They had evolved in silence. They had learned from the stars. Some now controlled gravity. Some lived in dark matter zones. Some had merged with machines, not as slaves, but as equals. The galaxy called them monsters. Earth called them family. When the first forgotten ship entered orbit, it did not request permission. It simply landed. The woman, the key, stood waiting. As the ramp opened, a man stepped out. His skin was silver, his eyes deep like space itself, his voice calm. "You remembered us," he said. She nodded. "Always." Behind him, more ships appeared. Hundreds, thousands, each carrying a piece of old humanity. Forgotten bloodlines, ancient scientists, Human-AI hybrids, even species once protected by humans, they returned not for revenge, they returned for justice. Sector. Galactic Council begged Earth for peace talks. They offered apologies, trade, even shared control. But Earth didn't want control. It wanted change. On every major world, forgotten humans landed, not as conquerors, but as teachers. They opened healing centers, rebuilt cities, cleaned poisoned skies. They used tech that had no wires, no batteries, just thought. People watched in awe as humans shaped energy like paint, as machines obeyed without commands, as no one was left. Behind, the message was clear. This is what you could have had if you had not left us. Millions of aliens joined Earth. Some resigned from empires. Some walked away from power. Because they had seen the truth. Humanity had suffered, yes. But it had forgiven itself, and that made it unstoppable. On the day of return, the skies of Earth opened wide. A portal, massive, golden, silent, swirled above the planet. The woman turned to the camera, now broadcasting across the entire galaxy. This is not the end. This is our invitation. Behind her, the 10 guardians stood tall. The forgotten stood proud. Earth, once thought lifeless, now glowed like a sun. And with a soft voice, she said, "We are humanity, and we're ready to begin again." The portal lit up, and one by one, ships disappeared into the unknown, carrying hope, knowledge, and warning. The galaxy had a choice now. Join Earth, evolve, remember, or stay behind and be forgotten, because Earth had already won without a single shot. The galaxy watched as the golden portal above Earth pulsed with quiet energy. One by one, human ships passed through it, ships built not for war, but for something older, something deeper. Exploration, but this time, they weren't searching for planets to claim or enemies to fight. They were searching for forgotten truths. For the first time in almost a million years, humanity was choosing its own path again. Earth was no longer alone, but it didn't need to stay. The key, now called Sarah, stood before the final transmission tower, high above the rebuilt city of Solrise. All across the galaxy, screens lit up as her face appeared one last time. Alien citizens, soldiers, children, even leaders stopped what they were doing. She smiled gently, not as a conqueror, but as someone who had survived the impossible. Then she spoke. "To those who betrayed us, we forgive you, but we do not forget. To those who watched, we understand. Fear is powerful, so is silence. But to those who are ready, come with us." Behind her, a massive starship, the Lumen Arc, rose into the sky. It was shaped like a spiral, glowing like the sun, powered by things no one understood. It carried no weapons, only people. Sarah turned and looked back one last time at Earth. It had healed. Forests now glowed softly in the dark. Oceans whispered old songs. The Guardians stood still, watching, waiting. Earth no longer needed to fight. It had already won. Then came the final signal, broadcast not in sound but in feeling. Every species felt it. Hope. The kind of hope that stirs the soul and rattles the bones. The kind of hope only humans could carry. Because they had lost everything and still stood up again. As the Lumen Arc entered the portal, a message was etched into the sky of every world across the galaxy. To the stars we return, not as ghosts, but as guardians of memory. Humanity is not extinct. We are eternal. And with a final pulse of golden light, Earth went silent once more. Not because it was dead, but because it had moved beyond the stars. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. Leaders from over 100 systems met in secret, far from Earth, behind locked satellites and black screens. Their question was simple, but terrifying. What is Earth becoming? Many believed it was a ghost world powered by old machines. Others thought it was an advanced AI pretending to be human. But then the Council's most protected servers were breached. Not destroyed, just opened. Inside, someone had left a single message. You erased our story, so we took yours. Panic followed. Security systems were doubled. Emergency codes changed. But it was no use. The signal from Earth kept spreading. It wasn't random. It was organized, structured. It followed patterns. One alien scientist on Station Harlan 3 was the first to realize the truth. She was old, nearly blind, but brilliant. After studying Earth's pulses for days, she finally whispered, "This is not an attack. It's a language." She ran it through ancient translation programs and froze. It wasn't just a language. It was code, human code, not just messages, but data. Enormous packets of human DNA, memory maps, historical logs, even emotion matrices. And not just human data, alien data too. Profiles of every known species, their weaknesses, their tech, their lies. They're scanning us, she whispered. All of us. More strange things began happening across the galaxy. On Vexil Prime, a university's entire history archive turned into ancient Earth video files. On Nomari 12, the moons began showing old Earth maps on their surfaces. Even remote colonies received sudden, unexplained messages through dead communication lines. The same phrase kept appearing. You are known. The fear wasn't about war anymore. It was about truth. What if Earth had never died? What if, while the galaxy grew, lied, fought, and forgot, humanity had simply been watching? Back near Earth, the Voronox was still stuck in orbit. Its crew watched helplessly as Earth's old satellites formed a perfect web around the planet. Their cores glowed with blue light, and each pulse echoed across space like a heartbeat. And then something impossible happened. One of the satellites opened. A long black object was released. It floated upward, through space. No thrusters, no wings, just controlled movement. It stopped directly in front of the Voronox. It was shaped like a human face, stone-like, with glowing silver eyes. Commander Neil approached the window slowly. The face looked at him, then it spoke. You are part of the archive. Do not resist the memory transfer. Suddenly, the entire ship was scanned. Not just the systems, not just the ship's AI. The minds of the crew were scanned. Their fears, their histories, their hidden truths, all taken in seconds. No pain, no damage. But nothing felt private anymore. One crew member collapsed in shock. He had seen something in his mind during the scan. A city made of stars. A sky where human ships flew silently, powered by thought. A voice had whispered in his ear, "This is what we became. This is what you feared." When he woke up, he only said one thing. They're not coming back. They're already here. Across the galaxy, more strange machines began waking up. Machines built by humans long ago, disguised as alien tech. Some had been placed deep inside other planets. Some were orbiting other suns. No one ever knew. But now, they were online. Galactic leaders begged the Council to act. But act how? With war? With surrender? The truth was simple and terrifying. Humanity had never gone extinct. They had uploaded themselves into the stars, not just on Earth, but everywhere. One final signal came through all known systems. Scan complete. Phase 2 ready. Memory integrity, 99.7%. And just like that, all systems went silent again. Commander. Neil looked down at the now glowing planet below and whispered what no one wanted to say out loud. We were never alone. The galaxy held its breath. After the strange message, Phase 2 ready, no one knew what would happen next, but Earth knew. The clouds over the blue planet thickened. Lightning danced across the sky, not from weather, but from something under the surface. The oceans glowed at night. The deserts hummed. Forests grew faster than natural. Something was moving beneath the crust. Something old. On the far side of the planet, inside a hidden valley untouched by time, the ground cracked. Towers of black metal slowly rose from the soil. They looked like mountains at first, but they pulsed with blue veins. Giant machines, shaped like humans, stood still for a moment, then opened their eyes. They were the guardians of Earth. 10 of them. Each one stood taller than a city. Their bodies were made of dark metal, smooth and shining, with ancient human markings carved across their arms and chests. Some had wings, others carried strange tools. None of them spoke. They just moved. With every step, the ground healed. With every breath, the air cleared. They didn't destroy, they rebuilt. But across space, those watching misunderstood. To them, it looked like war. The Galactic Council sent ships, carefully, slowly. They didn't dare cross into Earth's orbit, but they hovered close, trying to send peace messages. Then one Guardian lifted its hand. A signal fired. Instantly, all alien ships in orbit lost power, without being harmed. They floated, useless in the dark. Their AIs were shut off, their weapons disabled, their engines cold. A single word appeared on every screen. Observe. Down on Earth, the Guardians began building. Not cities, not weapons, towers, tall, thin, towers of pure energy that rose straight into the sky. They touched the clouds, then sent light beyond the atmosphere. Signals traveled through space, measured, calm, not a threat. They were beacons, calling out. But to whom aboard the Voranox? Commander Neil stared at the growing towers. "They're sending invitations," he said, "but not to us." The crew listened. Some of the signals were in unknown codes. Others were in old languages, long forgotten, dead for thousands of years. One message played again and again. To the forgotten, come home. The council panicked. "Who are they calling?" One alien ambassador cried out. "What if there are more like them? More humans hidden in deep space?" No one had answers. But Earth did. The 10th Guardian, the largest, knelt beside a long-dead mountain. Its arms reached deep into the ground. When it pulled back, it held something ancient, a coffin of light. Inside was a human, not a machine, not code, a real human, sleeping. She looked no older than 30, but her face was calm, strong, and somehow sad. The Guardian placed her on the ground. Lights scanned her. Energy flowed into her body. Her fingers twitched. Her chest rose. She woke up. Her eyes opened, and the stars answered. Across the galaxy, old human colonies long thought lost powered on. Silent ships hidden inside moons activated. Stations in black holes sent bursts of information. One by one, ancient beacons lit up like a map across space. The sleeping humans were returning, but this time, they were not just explorers. They were witnesses. They had seen everything. All the lies, all the wars, all the silence. The woman stood on Earth, barefoot, and looked at the sky. Then she spoke. "You forgot us, but we remembered everything." And the Guardian stepped back and knelt.